Started. Welcome everyone. My name is Mark Hughes and I am part of the team at Advanced Assembly in beautiful Aurora, Colorado. I'm joined here today to talk about an exciting announcement with Sebastian Weber and Greg Zeraldo. Sebastian is one of our excellent line engineers. I believe your official title is Process Engineer 2.
Yep, correct.
I mean, and we don't have a 3. Sebastian's the top guy. We love him. Not yet. And we'll get to know him in just a second. And Greg Zeraldo. That's right, that Greg Zeraldo. You might have had the Greg Zeraldo sandwich. Maybe you've read the Greg Zeraldo book. Some of you lucky guys out there have the Greg Zeraldo action figure with live karate chop action. Next up, though, I mean, now that we've sold out of those, the next version of the Greg Zeraldo action figure is gonna talk. You'll get Greg's famous catchphrase at the end of the day and other exciting things. It's that Greg Zeraldo. So let's meet our panelists and then let's go from there onto the exciting announcement. Sebastian, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm a process engineer. I do pretty much everything. I've worked in almost every department at AA, with the exception of sales and accounting, and for a good reason. So I know a lot about how our process works. I know how the information flows through. I understand basically AA as a company. And that gives me a unique insight and the ability to help customers get their data and get their designs to where they need to be to flow through the system well. And so that's one of my main priorities. The other main priority is, of course, scoping out new equipment and figuring out other process methods or improvements that we can do on the floor to just improve overall efficiency.
All right, Greg, how about you?
Well, as you alluded to, I'm over operations, and I've been with the company actually 3 years today. So I started on 9/11 3 years ago today. So yay.
Congratulations.
And then prior to that, I worked with another corporate fab company for about 15 years, specializing in aerospace, weapons, and defense.
All right. Well, thank you both for joining us today. I understand that Advanced Assembly just had a very exciting accomplishment. And which one of you wants to tell us about it?
I'll start.
All right.
So I think it was 2 weeks ago, we actually just were awarded our certificate number for our AS9100D. This was a huge step for us because we've always operated under the umbrella of ISO, and we've gone through, the various stages of the ISO standard and everything. And it's a great quality, QMS architecture to have, but it was something where, Advanced Assembly wanted to significantly grow not only our customer base, but, really validate the quality of work that we manufacture in-house. So this was actually, just to kind of, get a precursor in there, this was a project that we had started, Sebastian, probably at least a year ago. Yeah. Probably like early 2019. Is when we actually started discussing, what steps we needed to do. And we had started formalizing the steps to get there. And so here we are about a year and some months later with a cert in hand. Very exciting. We're super proud of our teams.
I mean,
cert and props.
What's that?
I said a cert and props.
Certainly props.
Yeah. All right. Hey, it sounds cool, but I mean, to me, it sounds like jargon. What's AS9100D? What's ISO?
So I can speak to that.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So ISO is basically it's how you measure your quality metric system, your QMS system. How well you document your processes, how well you make sure that people are following them, and AS9100 is like the advanced hardcore version of ISO. So it's specifically designed for aerospace, but a lot of other companies and industries use it as well. A lot of like harsh environment designs will specifically look for AS9100 just because there's a greater control for those companies' processes and the methods and how they produce and manufacture.
So this is something then that all assembly houses get, right?
No, not. I mean, ISO is pretty common. I think most assembly houses, a small amount, probably literally a handful, don't have any certification and just build boards as you see fit. But I think most of them have ISO, and then there's only a handful that really go above and beyond and work towards that AS9100.
Why is that?
It's way more stringent. There's a lot of focus on how you handle the flow of information throughout your company. There's a lot of control on how well you control your processes, how you validate those processes and prove that those processes actually work. And then, of course, whether or not the actual manufacturer technicians on the floor are following those processes.
There's a, one of the biggest step offs from AS versus ISO is risk and assessment of risk. That's one of the biggest, and it's a pretty big, net to throw out as far as what that means. Risk needs to be identified from book to bill, from how the phone is picked up, how the email is answered, all the way from book to bill. So there needs to be a very, as Sebastian said, a very stringent way of validating or evaluating, how the company is assessing risk. Is there risk to the company's financials? Is there a risk to safety? Is there a risk to manufacturability? Is there a risk to product development? Is there a risk to reliability of the product in the field? And with AS9100, we talk about this all the time in aerospace, is that you can't pull weapons off a plane. You can't pull a satellite out of the sky. It has to work right the first time, every time. There's no opportunity for error. And so with an AS9100 accreditation, even though advanced assembly serves a lot of different vertical markets, every single one of those will benefit from AS9100 because of the structure of our QMS. And so there's not a different path that a aerospace customer will follow when it is having something manufactured through advanced assembly. There's not okay, hey, look, this is for Boeing. This is going to go down this path. And then, this is for XYZ customer that is in a different industry. So we're going to put them through a different area. Every single PO, every single assembly, every single piece that's shipped out from advanced assembly is under the guise of AS9100. And so there's a benefit of quality and risk management, risk awareness that we have from the front of the house to the back of the house.
Does that mean then that I'm going to have to pay, as a customer, that I'm going to have to pay more? I'm going to have to pay aerospace rates for Class 3 production?
There's a higher price that you charge, that any CM charges for, depending on the spec that you're manufacturing to. Class 2 is relatively easier to achieve than Class 3 is. Class 3A. These are just different addendums that it requires higher tolerancing, higher manufacturability, higher quality levels. But to say that you're paying more for an AS9100 cert, not at all. That's what the company invested in. That's money that we put up to validate the things that Sebastian works with every day, that our process engineers, our technicians, our management, our front end office folks. It's our investment, our commitment to our customers from a quality standpoint.
So who all was involved in this certification process? You said you two have been working on it for a year. Is this a company-wide effort? Is this a small team of dedicated people?
Go for it, Sebastian.
So it definitely involves everyone, from upper management all the way down to even janitorial or anything like that. It goes all the way through. You have to make sure that everyone is following exactly what they're supposed to do. And it was actually really great because once we started rolling or starting to move this ball forward and we got everyone kind of understanding what the goal was, there was a lot of people jumping on board and really putting forth a lot of effort to make our processes as good as they should be, to get this certificate. And it was really comforting, and it was awesome. This was one of my pride and accomplishments here. So
totally agree. Totally
Very-
agree. Yeah. It has to be, you know, a standardization like AS9100 needs to be embraced from the top to bottom. You can't have one key point in your org chart that is, you know, beating the drum to get this done. This literally needs to be embraced by everybody in the front office, administration, manufacturing. You know, it's what Sebastian said. You know, even janitorial. It needs to be understood and embraced by everybody because it affects everybody. It's not if you have just a small select group of people that are pushing this agenda through, it will never be completely bought into. You know, one of the things that an AS9100 auditor is going to look for as they go through their, 5 to 7 day audit is making sure that the same story is told from book to bill. And so if there is any variations in your process, if there's variations in how involved your people are, it sticks out like a sore thumb because you're going to speak to somebody in the sales office who handles an account one way. And then you're going to speak to somebody on the order entry side or the sales support side or, pre-manufacturing. And then it goes to manufacturing and somebody will tell you something completely different. And what it ends up doing is it just does this. Nobody is following, there's not a standardized way that something is done. And that is the antithesis of what AS9100 does. AS9100 ensures that the same story is told from the front of the house to the back of the house. So when that product goes out the door, there is a very heightened sense of input to make it and reliability going out with it. It's huge.
How do you do that from a culture standpoint? I mean, I haven't been to advanced assembly in a while, but I remember it being, a couple hundred people on staff. I mean, how do you get them all on board? How do you make them all feel it's important?
So I think the best and the easiest way is just to be upfront and truthful with people for one. Because if people find out you're lying or that you're trying to manipulate them in some way, they're never going to buy into it ever again, even if it's something that does benefit them. So like a lot of what I would do when I was going through and changing these processes and working with people to figure out the best way to do things was just tell them what we're trying to accomplish and ask them how they can help us. And a lot of them were just like, yeah, this is something I want to be a part of. And they would jump in, they would give feedback, and they would pull in others too. You get some of your key popular people out there to buy into it, and everyone else is they're going to go right with it.
Okay, we have a question, and my audio's out. Give me a second to try to fix that.
Did that remove the static?
Yep.
Okay, I just went to my webcam mic. Don't know what's going on there, but what's more stressful, ISO recertifications, this AS9100D certification, or customer inspections?
So I'm going to step in and answer that really quickly. So both of those types of, whether it's a customer inspection, like either a source inspection, a customer audit, or an AS audit, or an ISO audit, those are all extremely difficult if you're not set up, if your QMS is not set up. And so, and Sebastian, you and I have gone through probably 4 audits since our AS 3-4 audits, significant audits.
Yep.
Excuse me, to where they could have gone really, really sideways if we weren't prepared for it. Excuse me. So either one of those could be very difficult. If you're prepared, it's a walk in the park. Hold on, I have to cough.
No, go for it.
Yeah, so I can kind of speak to this too. So I think in my opinion, they're almost like different types of audits, because when you're looking at an ISO or an AS9100, they're looking at a universally recognized standard, and they'll just go through and checkbox all of the different clauses and everything else. But with a customer audit, customer audits will usually say, hey, what QMS system do you certify yourself to? And then they will go down the huge list of their own personal requirements in order for you guys to build their stuff. So I feel like a lot of times, and just like Greg said, as long as you're prepared, they're all easy, as long as you have all of your ducks in a row. But I feel like customers typically will have some of the more specific stuff, especially like when an aerospace customer comes in and audits us. They'll go into all kinds of crazy, just interesting things. I had one customer come in and ask, or he was talking about another place that he had audited, specifically trying to figure out what the voltage rating, the highest voltage rating of every part that was on there. And the facility that was there had like D-static chambers leading into production, and they had all these crazy, just above and beyond ESD requirements. And because this one facility had it, they started to put that onto their audit questions. And it's not necessarily like a bad thing if you tell them no or anything like that. It's just you're being honest, you're telling them what you can and what you can't do. So they asked us, hey, do you have any sort of thing like this? And I was like, oh, definitely not. That's way outside of anything that we would do. And it's more of on a part assembly level than a board assembly level. And so, yeah, I mean, there are questions like that where a customer will go way far down the path of like way outside of AS9100 specifically for just their design. So in my opinion, I think customer audits can be a little more stressful, but just because you don't know what kind of pertinent questions that they're going to ask.
Interesting. Yeah, that ESD question would really be, like you said, a part assembly if you're going for that craziness. But
die attach, wafer level assembly, micro soldering. Yeah, it was absolutely insane. It was a really cool story. And I love auditors. I love talking with them. I love answering their questions just because I've worked everywhere here. So it's always like, challenge me with a question that I can't answer. So
you're an interesting guy, Sebastian.
Yes, we all know this.
And we love you for it. So what company does this type of certification?
So you're really going to go through, a national registrar. Ours is through NQA. There's DQS, who I think our ISO certification was through. But there's several national registrars that are able to qualify your company for an AS9100 standard. There are some companies that are only, allowed to audit up to the 2015 standard of ISO 9001. So you have to make sure that your registrar is able to accredit you to the AS9100D standard. But other than that, it's just kind of reaching out to, who currently certifies you and seeing what the next steps are to get there.
Very cool.
Yeah.
If I could also ask, why do these companies even require it? I mean, you guys do good work anyway. You did good work before. We put parts and, we've made boards and they sometimes go far, far away to other planets. Why now? Why this?
Why is it for advanced assembly, or why?
Why would a company need this AS9100D? What kind of companies need it, and why are we doing it now instead? Why didn't we do it before? Why? I guess I'm asking what the real important is for an engineer.
I think that's a really good question, because a lot of times when we're getting new customers, we'll have them ask us what QMS system and what kind of ISO certifications we have, and it almost it's almost like an interview, and they're just like, which quality system do you have that's going to meet for my prototype type products? Which quality system do you have that's going to meet this specific type of program? And it's almost like design related. So a lot of like harsh environment stuff, whether it's going into space or downhole, they're going to want some of that more. They want a better control, and they want high reliability and repeatability. So they're going to look for that higher accreditation. But I mean, if they're just making a toaster or something, that they could care less, you know what I mean? So it's really, I think it's very design specific, and I think it's very industry specific.
But even if they are making the toaster, now they get a toaster that could go downhole or into space, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you need a toaster down there, sure.
Would you though? Isn't it really hot down the hole, Sebastian?
I think it would be fine. Maybe like a refrigerator or something like that might be a little more effective, but to each their own, I guess.
All
I
right.
think the
So
one thing to note real quick with that, Mark, though, too, is the, for us, you would ask, why now? And, there's a constant evolution that advanced assembly has done, even in just the last, couple of years. And, even just, a couple of years ago, it was, look, we live in this specific niche right here with prototypes. This isn't something that really fits what we do. But, our responsibility to the industry, to EMS, to our customers, to engineers across, the planet is to be making sure that what we produce is relevant to them. And so when we have people that are asking, hey, look, do you guys have a plan to get, your AS accreditation? Do you guys, do you have this? If not, have you thought about getting it? When we have people asking about it, it's obviously extremely important to us because it's important to them. And this is business that we want to secure as a partner for a lifetime of the program, of the company, of, however long it needs to be. This isn't something where we're kind of just here and then we're gone tomorrow. We need to really kind of put that stake in the ground as far as who we are. And AS was just the next logical step for us to go to.
that makes sense. I mean, yeah, you've always got to get better, right? Always have to improve. That's why I think one of our partner facilities just invested in, $6 or $8 million drill machines, and that's why we're going to invest in these, these next generation. We just did the new Micronic line, and we'll keep doing it, right? Out with the old, in with the new. Well, what else would you like us to know about AS9100 and the accomplishment? What else would you like to share before we sign off?
I got this cool mug. It's a
I think
Yeti
the best
mug,
part
so
about
it keeps
it-
stuff really cold.
That's good.
That's good. We had a quick meeting. So, to kind of break it down, Mark, we had our quality manager, Jorge Ramos. He designed an internal audit team, which is the official mug that Sebastian is drinking out of. So he created an internal audit team, and from that internal audit team, flowed down, of who's going to attack what, who was delegated what tasks to get this thing up to snuff and everything. And so we met as a team. Was that last week or the week before that, Sebastian? But we had, I think it was it was last week. And so, we brought everybody into the conference room and officially announced that we had gotten our certification. And you had touched on it just at the beginning of this, this webinar, but, it literally took everybody from LD, our CEO, all the way through the guys in shipping, the folks in accounting, the sales guys, manufacturing, everybody. And I cannot believe the attentiveness, the hands-on, the involvement, engagement from every level, every facet of the company. And I was just absolutely blown away. I was just so incredibly proud of the team that was able to secure this, because you can go into this. It's not something where you write a check for it and, hey, you get an accreditation, you get another piece of paper to stick on your wall. This is a massive undertaking to really get your company to the next level. And so I'm absolutely blown away by just, the level of involvement from Sebastian, the teams that he works with, the internal auditors, our quality manager, our upper management, our boots on the ground folks. I mean, it's literally just everybody was handed in getting this done. There wasn't one single person or one single entity that got this done. So super proud.
Very cool. Well, thank you both for all of your time today. I very much appreciate it. And for our listeners out there, I would like to encourage you to contact Sebastian or Greg if you have any questions about how you can benefit from this certification, the AS9100D. And if you're interested in getting the Sebastian Weber bobblehead or the Greg Zeraldo live action figure with karate chop action and the new talking Greg Zeraldo doll with the catchphrase at the end of the day, contact your salesperson at sales@aapcb.com. They can field everything for you. Again, guys, thank you so much for your time. It was very interesting, and I wish you the best of luck and a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Sure.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, everybody.
Stop recording, and we'll stop broadcast.